Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm Darren McBreen. It is Thursday, November 19th, 2015. Here's a quick look what's coming up.
Tonight, the logic of a neocon. Take out the head of the Syrian government in order to rid the world of terrorism, even though Assad isn't the one funding ISIS. And a look back at the legacy of JFK. That's next.
We're taking this country back, period. We're done. I don't care if it's globalists, radical Muslims, Satanists, whatever, whoever you are, get out of my way. 1776 is coming again, and you're not going to stop the new Enlightenment, the new Renaissance. Get out of the way, all of you. You globalists that want to suppress technology, radical Islamists that want to suppress culture, it's over. We're the real liberals. America was exceptional, and we're bringing it back. Now, that said, I cannot state to new viewers and listeners how awesome INFOWARS.
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
The sound of the war drums has begun to echo throughout the mainstream media as the establishment argues that the only way to eliminate the Islamic State and defeat ISIS is to take out the government of Bashar al-Assad in Damascus. Thus, the battle cry for boots on the ground in Syria. And we knew this was coming. I mean, the United States government and the U.S. intelligence agencies, well, they've been planning this for a very long time.
And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office. It says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I want to talk about it. This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
And that was General Wesley Clark talking about his experience back in the early days of the Bush administration. This was shortly after 9/11. And, you know, we've even got PNAC documents that go back even further that reveal that Syria has been a huge target on the U.S. hit list for some time. Now, remember, al-Qaeda did not have a presence in Iraq until after the U.S. invasion in 2003. Then the U.S. and its allies engineered the so-called Arab Spring. Civil wars erupted in Libya and Syria, and in walks the global powers to establish order out of chaos.
We came, we saw, he died.
That's right, and ISIS, which is a Frankenstein that was created by Western intelligence, well, they were sent in to overthrow Gaddafi in Libya, and now they are being used to overthrow Bashar al-Assad in Syria. So when you see these political pundits and politicians calling for boots on the ground in Syria, remember, they've been planning this for some time, and they've successfully destabilized the region. They've created absolute chaos. There's a tsunami of refugees that are fleeing the country right now, and they're flooding into Europe. And the ISIS terrorists are even allowed to export themselves through illegal immigration. It is an absolute orchestrated mess.
The United States should not delay in leading a global coalition to take out ISIS with overwhelming force. We need to intensify our efforts in the air and on the ground. While air power is essential, it cannot bring the results we seek. The United States, in conjunction with our NATO allies and more Arab partners, will need to increase our presence on the ground.
So there you go, Jeb Bush right on cue, acting like the true globalist puppet politician that he really is, calling for boots on the ground and a war in Syria. Mainstream media across the board, they're basically doing the same thing. They have the same mentality because the globalists, they have been waiting for this opportunity. And unfortunately, the terrorist attacks in Paris are giving them the perfect excuse to go in and start a war. Now, don't get me wrong. I want these radical Muslim extremists dead. I want ISIS to be totally destroyed and permanently wiped off the face of the earth. We're talking about that these guys are subhuman animals and they all need to be exterminated. So don't think I'm about to go tree hugging with Jane Fonda while our brave troops and soldiers go into war, because it's not about that. This is about knowing your enemy. Who funded ISIS? Who trained ISIS? Who's giving them money? And why were they let loose like a pack of rabid dogs to wreak havoc throughout the Middle East? These are the questions you should be asking yourself. And David Knight joins us now to try to help make sense of all this. I'm interested in your perspective on what do you think about all this talk about boots on the ground in Syria? Do you think it's a legitimate response to the Paris ISIS attacks, or do you think that this is simply a matter of the globalists waiting for this opportunity because they've been wanting to go into Syria for a very long time?
They've been working on this for a long time. That's why it's hard to make sense out of it, Darren, because we've been telling everybody where this is coming. We've been watching this develop over a number of years. We knew that they were trying to start a war in Syria. They had falsified sarin gas attack. They've tried to do everything they can. And of course, as Alex talked about earlier today, there are all these people in the military that said, we're not going to be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. They want a no-fly zone. As Rand Paul pointed out, you're talking about shooting down Russian planes to do that. And Russian planes who were there by the invitation of the Syrian government. And we know going way back to Wesley Clark that this was on their list, their hit list of countries that they were doing. Yep. This is a deliberate plan. And we've talked about how they've been creating ISIS, how they've armed them, trained them. It's an open secret. And yet you have the mainstream media, especially Fox News and others, who are trying to pretend that this is all something that is external to us, something that just grew up organically and naturally there that we had nothing to do with, and we need to now go there and take it down. It's absolutely insane.
Well, and this is straight out of the CIA's playbook on how to take over a country. Yeah. You know, send in a bunch of bad guys to do Washington's dirty work. They rape and pillage the nation. They start a civil war, and then they go in there and establish order out of chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And what they're going to do is they're going to do the same thing here in this country. That's why they're bringing these people into this country, because they want to create chaos here so they can then offer their solutions. And of course, one of the solutions is to get rid of our guns. And this is something that came out the beginning of this week on Monday. We had a report from the Washington Post, and now all the mainstream media, especially Fox News, is picking this up and running with it, Darren. This is a Fox alert. We see Gretchen Carlson talking about how scary this is. And let me tell you what the newest thing you need to be afraid of is. I'll let Gretchen Carlson tell you about it.
People who are on the terrorist watch list here in the U.S., who knew that they were still legally able to buy guns? Look at this data from the Government Accountability Office going back to 2004. Suspected terrorists made more than 2,200 attempts to buy guns from U.S. dealers. More than 2,000 of them, or 91%, were successful.
Yeah, they passed background checks.
There are 700,000 people on the U.S. terror watch list. Though it's worth noting, many say they were placed on the list by mistake. I'm not sure all 700,000.
Yeah, you know, those guys, they didn't deserve. But look, that's one of the key things to get out of this. They're trying to panic everybody. And Darren, the way this began, on Monday, the Washington Post ran a report from the GAO talking about these very statistics that she's got up here. It's been picked up by all the mainstream media, especially the Daily News. Look at these pictures of how they're demonizing the NRA's Wayne LaPierre. You got Daily News saying, craziest man on earth, and they've got a desperate picture of him there. Then another headline from the Daily News front page, NRA's sick jihad. And of course, as National Review, one of the few places to not chime in on this and talk about what a crisis this is, what a special alert, as Fox News put this out there. National Review, Charles Cook said, well, the New York Daily News knows who we should all be focused on in the wake of the shootings in Paris. Why? It's the NRA. In other words, they're the problems, they're the jihadis, they're the crazy people, okay? But we need to ask, how did people get on the watch list? How do you know that you're on a watch list? How do you get off of a watch list? You know, we have a thing called the Constitution. And in that Constitution, you have in the Sixth Amendment the right to be confronted with the people who accuse you, have a public trial with a jury, and to be found guilty, okay? But none of this stuff exists. One of the first stories I had when I came here at INFOWARS was the guy who got stranded in Hawaii. He'd just been vetted by the TSA.
Right.
He had been vetted by the FBI to get certain gun issues and everything. He'd been vetted by a number of agencies. He's flying on a military plane to see his wife in Japan. And they let him go on the first leg, and then when he starts to take the second leg out of Hawaii, he gets stuck there. They won't let him fly. And now he's stranded because he's got to get a boat to get off of Hawaii, right? So he misses his entire vacation. But after that, he was never able to get any information about how he got on that watch list or how he could get off. And so when we look at this and we see that 2,000 people went through and were cleared by the FBI, were able to get guns, and they say, no, if you're on a watch list, then you should lose your rights without any due process at all. That's one of the scariest things about it.
Well, the scariest thing about it is imagine the Obama administration or Clinton, if she becomes president, or even a Republican administration, anybody that all they have to do is say that you're on the terror watch list. Imagine who Obama would put on there right now to stop from getting guns. It would be the Libertarians, Tea Party, just all on down the line. This is very, very dangerous.
And Fox News is chiming in there, and the Republicans, many of the Republicans are as well. The co-sponsor of this bill is Representative Peter King out of New York, a Republican, sponsoring this with Dianne Feinstein. What does that tell you? Okay. Also, this first came up, this issue of we're not going to let anybody on a terror watch list get a gun. This first came up in the Bush administration in 2007. So this is a bipartisan effort at the top to try to stop gun rights of people without any due process. Just put them on the list. Once you get listed, and you never know that it's a star chamber procedure. Okay, that's why they set up the Sixth Amendment. They knew about the star chamber where people could be tried in secret without any representation, without their knowledge, and convicted in secret. That's the whole point of the due process that we have. And yet you've got Republicans now being panicked by Fox News saying, we want to get this out of here. We want to take people's rights away. And I want to point out one other thing too. Just as we're seeing Feinstein and King working together, just as we see Marco Rubio working with Chuck Schumer on open borders. And then they pointed this out in the Washington Post article. They said, conservative pollster Frank Luntz. Now, this is the guy that you always see with Fox News after the debates, taking his little test audience. We don't know where he got his test audience, taking their pulse literally to see how they react to the different debate sound bites. So Frank Luntz worked for Everytown USA. Now, they don't say that's Bloomberg, but we know that's Michael Bloomberg, okay? So he worked with them, this Fox pollster, who's really not a legitimate pollster, in my opinion. He's just somebody who manipulates the news using the pretense of polls. He found in this thing that he did for Bloomberg, 76% of American gun owners and 71% of NRA members support prohibiting people on the terror watch list from buying guns. That's the really dangerous thing.
And that's because people like, well, it's Fox News in the conservative base. See, now they have an excuse for gun control.
Yes.
Because they could say, hey, we're fighting terrorism.
Yes. And that's the danger.
Wow.
They're going to sell these people. Understand, to the degree that you give up your freedom, to that degree you are a slave. Slaves are never safe. Slaves are never secure. You have to understand the national security state is about continuity of government. It's not about your safety. And don't give up your freedoms for any reason whatsoever. These are people, for the most part, and again, we got to say that these are 2,000 people who were able to get guns. Have there been 2,000 shootings by any of these people? If there was a single shooting by somebody who got the gun, who was on a terror watch list, believe me, that would have been in this hit piece that's being run by the mainstream media. So there's not a single person who got a gun out of all those 2,000 plus that did anything with it. This is nothing but trying to panic